Hi everyone. Today is our last lesson, and that lesson is going to be 13.4, and it's going to be broken down into two parts: finding missing angles and finding missing sides. This should be review from geometry, so hopefully when you see this stuff, looks pretty familiar, should be pretty easy to catch on to, and then all you have to do is fill out the quick check once you're done going through both of these video lessons to get some practice in before we go ahead and review and take the test on Thursday. So today in this video, we're going to be looking at using trig inverses, so the inverse of sine, cosine, and tangent, to find missing angles. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to go through two examples of finding the value of x to the nearest degree. So x in these examples are degrees. They're missing angles. So in order to do this, you are going to need a graphing calculator. Your phone should do it. If you turn it to the side, you can download a graphing calculator app. You can probably find something on the internet if you're using your Chromebook. Hopefully you have your graphing calculator with you. So with your graphing calculator, we need to make sure it's set up correctly first. So the first thing that we have to do is go into mode. So it's right next to the second button. So press this button here that I'm circling, and it's going to bring up a long list. And the fourth line says radian degree. We want to make sure it is in degree. So make sure your calculator is in degree. So if it's highlighted over a degree that has a black box around it, it's set up already. Great. If it's highlighted over radian, you need to toggle down to that fourth line, go to the right till it's highlighted on degree, and hit enter. As long as it's on degree, we should get the same answers going through these examples. If it's not, your answers are going to look a little bit different, and they're going to be incorrect because they're in terms of radians and not degree. And everything we're doing, as you can see, is to the nearest degree. So once your calculator's set up, let's look at this problem. It says find x to the nearest degree. Well, x is this angle right here. So we need to use the information given in order to help us solve. Well, we're given 23 and 11. Well, what are those sides in correspondence to this angle? Well, if we look at 23, 23 is opposite of that angle, and 11 is adjacent to that angle. So if we think about our trig functions that have to do with opposite and adjacent, we have SOHCAHTOA. TOA, tangent, is opposite over adjacent, and we're given opposite over adjacent. So that's the trig function that we're going to want to use. So let's set it up. Usually we have tangent of theta. Well, in this case, we have tangent of x is equal to opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 23 over adjacent, which is 11. Well, now we have to go through and we have to solve for x. So in order to do that, we have to get tangent to the other side. Well, if it was like 2x, we would divide by 2. We would do the opposite. So we have to do the opposite of tangent, the inverse of tangent. And the inverse of tangent is like this. So if we do that to one side, it cancels, which means we have to do the inverse of tangent to the other side. Well, we've got a nice button on our calculator. If we look right here, that's going to do that for us. So right now we have x is going to equal the inverse of tangent of 23 divided by 11. So that's what we're going to do on our calculator. So we have the tangent button, and right above that it says the inverse of tangent. So to get that, we're going to hit second tangent. So if you hit second tangent and then type in 23 divided by 11, it's going to just give us our answer for x. And we're going to round to the nearest degree. So it's going to be, I think, 64.4. So to the nearest degree, that would just be 64 degrees. So that angle is 64 degrees. So the tangent of 64 equals 23 over 11. So let's go through one more example of this in order to make sure that we've got this concept down. All right, for this example here, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try this on your own. Try to figure out what x is to the nearest degree using our inverse trig functions. So go ahead and copy down this picture, try to solve it, and then hit play, and you can see if you've got the correct answer. If you're still kind of struggling with this concept, go ahead and just watch through as I go through one more example, and then you can try them on your quick check. All right, so to figure out this angle right here, we are going to figure out what information do we have to figure out what trig function we should use. Well, we have opposite of this angle, and we have our hypotenuse, the longest side across from the right angle. So if we think of our trig functions, we have SOHCAHTOA. We have opposite over hypotenuse, so we're going to use sine. So we have sine of our angle, sine of x, equals opposite over hypotenuse. So now we just have to go through and solve this. Well, we got to get rid of sine. So how do we get rid of sine? We do the inverse. Those cancel. Then we do the inverse over here. So to figure out what x is, we take the inverse of sine of 13 over 27. So on our calculator, we hit second sine, because right above that it's the inverse. So that's going to give us the inverse of sine. Type in 13 divided by 27, and we get x is equal to 29 degrees, because we're looking to go to the nearest degree. All right, so that's how we find missing angles. If you have any questions on this, just go ahead and reach out to me via email or set up a Zoom meeting, and we can kind of go through another couple examples so you get the hang of it. There's one more video for the rest of this year, and that video is on finding missing sides using angles. So go ahead and pop into that second video, go through it, and then fill out that quick check.